We're getting more reaction and more details on what seemed to be a quid pro quo between the State Department and Clinton campaign officials over how to handle, well, some embarrassing emails. Catherine Herridge with the details. Hey, Catherine.
Well, Neil, the newly released FBI records make clear that Patrick Kennedy, one of Secretary Clinton's trusted lieutenants, wanted to do a deal with the FBI over the classification of Clinton emails, something the agent starkly termed a quid pro quo. And there's no soundbite, so I'm going to keep going, Neil. You know how that happens every once in a while.
Indeed.
Okay, so I'm going to go on to some of the graphics. According to the newly released FBI interviews, Kennedy and an FBI agent discussed a swap. The FBI would downgrade a highly sensitive Clinton email to unclassified, and in return, the Bureau would get coveted slots for agents overseas. It reads in part, quote, redacted indicated he had been contacted by Patrick Kennedy, who had asked his assistance in altering the email's classification in exchange for a quid pro quo. And at a follow-up meeting with intelligence agency reps, the documents show Kennedy was determined to shield the emails from public release. That reads in part, Kennedy spent the next 15 minutes debating the classification of the email and attempting to influence the FBI to change its markings. I went to the briefing this afternoon where the State Department disputed the FBI's characterization.
The FBI agent either got it wrong or is lying in this 302?
As I understand this, Catherine, this was any idea or any really assertion that this was somehow tit for tat or a quid pro quo exchange of in that manner really, frankly, is insulting.
We've asked the FBI to provide us with an updated statement here at Fox News, because the State Department spokesman clearly said that they believe the agents, and there were two involved in these interviews, got it wrong and were essentially incompetent and could not correctly characterize their interactions with Patrick Kennedy. Separately, Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who is the chairman of the Government Oversight Committee, and the Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, have written to Secretary of State John Kerry, and they have asked him for the immediate removal of Patrick Kennedy. So this shows you how serious this issue is. At the briefing today, the State Department spokesman said that for now, Kennedy enjoys the full support of Mr. Kerry. Neil.
All right, now it goes something like this, that the FBI didn't reclassify that material.
That's correct.
So
That's
it stopped
correct.
right there. But obviously they were looking, if they can believe this, for some sort of arrangement. But it also comes at a time, Catherine, where initially when we got wind of these emails and this correspondence, Hillary Clinton said there were no such markings, classified or unclassified, and then we later learned that there was C for classified. What's the real score? Do we know?
The real score is that this is ultimately one of the final batches of FBI investigated documents that were provided to Congress and now released to the public. And based on our review here at Fox News, there certainly is evidence to suggest a broader conspiracy to change the classification of the emails in a way that would benefit the State Department and would shield Hillary Clinton in any investigation. And that is not simply our assessment here at Fox News. That was the assessment of an FBI official who oversaw classification of documents and emails. This is a very serious matter. This was the conclusion of the FBI, not of Republicans and not of any news organization. And we will see, based on our reporting so far, there will be hearings after the election that specifically look at this issue, as well as the insertion of lawyers who worked for Hillary Clinton's personal attorney, David Kendall, at the State Department, that circumvented the professionals there, and they were tasked with handling the emails. And based on the 302s, there is evidence that their job, again, was to change the classification markings in a way that would benefit the department and that would shield Hillary Clinton.
Wow. All right, Catherine. Now to Judge Andrew Napolitano, what he makes of all of this. That sounds like pretty serious stuff, Judge.
Well, it is serious stuff. I agree with Catherine, and I respect the sources on which Catherine is relying. Look, Neil, it is not uncommon for intra-agency conversations, the State Department, the FBI, the CIA, the State Department, to negotiate about the difference between, say, top secret and secret. It is also not uncommon for a classification to be changed by consent in order to broaden the array of people who can see it if they must see it and they lack the classified clearance for the higher marking. But it is absolutely unheard of to change the marking on a document after it's been subpoenaed and when it's been collected in a criminal investigation. Any alteration of it at that point, Neil, becomes either obstruction of justice or tampering with evidence, or if something is offered in return for the agreement to change the marking, an attempted bribe. So Catherine is quite correct. The FBI agents who are very unhappy about this and feel their hands were tied are justly angry. There's a serious problem here with the rule of law. And it tells me that someone somewhere told the FBI from day one, do not prosecute anybody in this Hillary Clinton investigation, no matter who they are or what the evidence against them is.
You know, I'm linking two disparate events, Judge, but if you'll bear with me, because if there was frustration on the part of lower-ranking FBI members with how this was handled and the audacity, let's say, of the State Department official, and then later on we hear FBI Director Comey and that decision not to prosecute Hillary Clinton kind of ended there, and there was a great deal of anger over that. In fact, some members are actually apoplectic.
Yes.
There's a different kind of a reading from the top guy to the worker bees. They're not on the same page.
The worker bees, who are the hardworking men and women who are the special agents who are in the field, that is, who actually gathered documents, who looked at the servers, who extracted information from the servers that Mrs. Clinton's people thought they had deleted, who interviewed the witnesses. Those are the people who Catherine's sources and my sources say are profoundly unhappy with the decision not to seek an indictment of her and believe that their hands were tied without them knowing it from the beginning. I say without them knowing it because they might not have known, the agents in the field, that no grand jury was convened, that no subpoenas were issued, that no search warrants were served, and that there was very little meaningful oversight by the Department of Justice. This was a highly irregular investigation from day